Hi, my name's Cameron Carlson with AnimeOnLocation.tv. I'm here at Colossal 2018 with Kristen McGuire. How you doing?
I'm good. Why are you laughing already?
Because my producer's making me laugh, so it's all good. So, for fans that may not know this, how'd you get started in the world of voice acting?
It's a great story, I guess. I did theater in high school and middle school. I played Toto in The Wizard of Oz. Not to brag or anything, but I was a dog. And then I did comics for a while, and I was going to cons as a guest for my comics, and I was selling them, and I met some voice actors, and they told me what they did, and I was like, that sounds really cool. I used to do theater, and I really like that. And they're like, well, Funimation does open auditions. You should try out. And I was like, all right, I'll try out. Like, they're going to say no, but okay. So I Googled it, which all of you at home can do as well, just so you know. It's an option. I Googled, how do you be a voice actor? And a forum came up that was dedicated to it. And I followed the instructions on the page. And I sent an email with my experience and my voice range. And then I didn't hear anything for about 5 months. And I was like, yeah, I wouldn't contact me either. I was like, that's cool. At least I tried. And then out of nowhere, I got an email from them asking me to come in and do open auditions. And I was like, yeah, cool, I'll do that. And then I Googled how to be a voice actor again, because it'd been 5 months and I didn't know what I was talking about. And I practiced for about 2 weeks, did the open audition, and I was like, well, that was a really cool experience. I'll probably never hear back from them again. And then 2 weeks later, they called me in to do background voices on Haganai Next. And they haven't gotten rid of me since.
Walla's awesome.
Yeah. I did Walla for about 1.5 years before I got my first named role. So.
And that's what I hear from a lot of voice actors, actually, is it's the Walla is what gets you in. As long as you can keep Walla up and you keep it consistent, that's usually probably like, hey, now you actually get the real role.
Well, what a lot of people don't know is directors use Walla to see how you are as an actor, not just your acting ability, but also your personality and whether or not you can show up on time, if you have a good attitude. Because I have directed, I've had people that do fantastic in Walla and have great attitudes. And when I'm ready to cast a show, I will actually look at those people and think, like, how was their Walla session? Were they well-behaved? Were they on time? Were they professional? Do I think they're ready for something bigger? Did they take direction well? And a lot of the times, if the answer is yes, they get cast in a bigger role. But I've also had people that weren't professional that I haven't used again. So a lot of people think Walla is kind of a throwaway, but it's actually just an audition for something bigger.
Yeah. And kind of going into that, now you're well known for working with Mr. Sonny Strait, doing various projects with him, be it art, script writing, or voice work. What's it like to work with him on projects and basically be like his foundation for him now making his classes for like his voice acting?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm the foundation for that. That's all Sonny. But I mean, Sonny is awesome. I've known him a really long time. We met as comic book artists. I actually knew him before I was a voice actor. I think when I met him, I'd already applied, but I hadn't heard back yet. And so we've known each other as artists. I worked with him on ElfQuest. I took his class, which is a really fun story, is that he started his very first class. He told me about it, and I was like, hey, I'd like to take this class. And the same week the class started, they cast Assassination Classroom. And he plays the teacher, and I play a student, and it was just a really fun coincidence. And I was actually late to our first class because I was at the studio recording, and I was like, I'm gonna be late, I'm so sorry. And he made a big to-do about it when I got in the class. He was like, well, look who finally showed up. And I was like, I am sorry. But Sonny's great. He's very creative, and I mean, obviously, a lot of the places I've been in my career are because he saw potential in me. It was his idea to have me shadow him to start assistant directing. He's the one who suggested me for script writing and kind of vouched for me because I was a comic book artist and I wrote my comic books. He's like, so she knows how to write and things like that. So he's always been a really big supporter of me and really all new talent. Yes. So I think that's what makes him so great. And he's just a genuinely really funny guy. Yes. Like, he's so hilarious, and I love working with him in any capacity.
I remember when he started talking about that on Twitter, actually. I remember that.
Yeah, he's hilarious, and when we did work on shows together, we always had a really great time. Yep.
I remember seeing all the fun pictures that were posted from inside the recording studio. Yeah. So you had the chance to work on Yuri on Ice, a smash hit. What was it like working on that show and to see it and how much it's touched so many people? Like, honestly, I got it, and I watched it in one single day, in one sitting. I never left my bed. I was really depressed that day too. So I never left my room the entire day other than to eat and like go to the restroom, and that was it. And I watched it in one straight day. So like honestly, it was really powerful to me. So what's it like for you when you hear fans like tell you those like types of stories, and how much of it, like, it was just so much fun to work on it?
Well, obviously, honestly, Yuri on Ice was like a sleeper hit. Like when we got it, we didn't know what we had yet. And I remember talking to Sonny about it, and I was like, so what's your next show? I was like, any girls in it? And he was like, nah. He's like, it's all dudes, and they're all ice skating. And I was like, shoot, like, curses, foiled again. And then, like, he called me in, and I was like, I thought you said this was all guys. He's like, yeah, but you're going to be this ugly little triplet. And I was like, awesome. And it was really great because I got to be a triplet with my best friend, Christy Rothrock. And that was the second time we'd been cast as siblings. The first time was in Servamp. We were twins. And so it was the second time I got cast with her. But it's really fun, because the triplets are fun. And they're kind of like the basis for how the whole story starts. So I'm always telling people, I'm like, you're welcome. That was us. But it's a great show. And I do think it has such a beautiful message that hits home for so many people. Yes. Not just on, the show itself and what it's known for, but also, the awkwardness that a lot of us feel and the anxiety that a lot of people go through and Yuri's personal struggles. Yeah. And I thought Josh Greeley played those up so well. Yes, and it's a really beautiful show, and I hope there's more. Not just because I like money, but because I would like to see more about it. And it's so beautiful, like just the animation and just, it's amazing to be a part of something. And like I said, we had no idea what it was going to be when it happened. So it was one of those things that it was the same season as Keijo. And I was like, how did I manage to get in two shows that are so notorious in their own ways?
One's about butts and skating.
I mean, they're both sports animes, though. So,
So, and honestly, I laughed so much during Yuri on Ice, too. So it was a good all the way around. So you're now known for directing the hit show Citrus. How's it been like going for you and the fan response to that show? And to be all honesty, you actually have a tie back to Ohio because of that. Amber is actually from my hometown of Brunswick.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I did not know that, eh? I love Amber. She's so talented. It's disgusting. Citrus was great. I did ask the producers to do auditions. We don't get to do those as often as we did. But because there were 10 girls in the show, I was like, I really want to do auditions. Yeah, so I can hear how people's voices work. And when they asked me to direct it, I kind of did some research on it, and I saw it had a really big fan base based on the manga and things like that. And given what the show represents, I really wanted to do it justice, and so did everybody involved. And I had that talk with everyone that came in and auditioned. I'm like, this is what the show is about, and I really want to do it justice, and I really want to, give the LGBTQ community something to rally around and treat the show with the respect that it deserves. And so everyone that came in, we talked about that and things like that, and everyone did a really great job, and everyone brought their A game, and it was so important to so many people that worked on it. Meg McDonald has often said, she even said it in our Unlocked interview, that she's pansexual, so it meant a lot to her to be able to play a character in that show. So I think the show is successful because, it's a good show, and it it covers a lot of really deep things that a lot of people go through character-wise, and, emotional abuse and things like that, and coming from that and learning to love someone who's been emotionally abused and coming to terms with your sexuality. But I think it was successful because everybody wanted it to be. Everybody was so excited to be there, and I think it really showed in the end product. So I just got lucky that it had such a great cast and a great writer too. My engineer was awesome. My engineer's name was Ricky, and he's this big guy, and he seems so serious, but he was so into making sure all the flaps matched up just right. He would let me know. He's like, that doesn't fit, it's too short or whatever. And he was just really into it, and it's just great because he's just this big guy, and you wouldn't think he'd be into this show about two girls being in love, but he was like, no, we're gonna put out a good product. And so it was so great because everyone was on the same page about making it good.
Honestly, Twitter was blown up for me on that, so I was like, all right, cool, I guess I'll have to check this out at a point.
It's so good.
Yeah. So So some fans may or may not know this, is that you are, as we discussed in the beginning of the interview, that you are your own comic book artist.
Yeah.
What does that mean for you when fans discover your artwork, and knowing that you're also one of the lead artists for Akon sometimes when you do their artwork for them?
Well, I mean, I think most people just think I must not have any free time, and they would be correct.
You're a very hard worker.
I work a lot. I love artwork, and it'll always be my first love. I have had to put it on the back burner a lot because of everything going on with Funimation, and that does take up like 40 to 45 hours a week.
It's like a normal job.
It is a normal job. I actually work full time for them now, so it's like a normal job with benefits and everything, just like a real adult.
Quotation marks.
Quotation marks. So when I do my comics, I only get to do them in my spare time, and it's been a couple of years since I put out anything new. But once upon a time, I made a comic about unicorns that turn into hot dudes. So it was really popular.
I can understand why.
It's here. If anyone wants to buy it, I brought a few copies with me. But yeah, it was my first love, and it's kind of what I've always been an anime fan since I was like 15, and it's really cool to work in a place where I get to utilize like my talents and like bring that passion with me. And so I try to think of everything, whether it's comics or writing or directing or acting, from the same viewpoint as a fan. And I just hope that like people know that I'm always bringing my best to whatever I do. Oh no, I'm derobing on camera. So sorry.
It's totally fine. I've seen way worse. Don't worry. So back in April, when I was writing this script,
I remember you tweeted me about this. I know where this is going. No, you continue though. I don't want to.
So you announced your involvement in Death March to the parallel world of Rhapsody. How was it going for you back then in April when you announced that role?
I mean, it was great. I was only in like 2 episodes. Yeah. It was great, but it was my first time ever working with Emily Neves, and we saw each other every night because we were both on the night shift. And so like one day she just like popped her head in the door, and she's like, "Hey, I don't remember what I needed." And I was like, "That's cool." I was like, "Did you need so and so?" And she's like, "No." I'm like, "Did you need Ricky?" And she's like, "No." She's like, "Can you do a little girl voice?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's just, pretty scrappy sounding." She's like, "Perfect. I'm gonna cast you." And I was like, "Cool." And I was like, she's like, "It's a witch." And I was like, "Yay, a witch." And I thought like pointy witch's hat, but instead I got a bird nest, which is also cool. And actually, I think Emily plays the bird that lives on my head. So that's a thing. But it was really great working with Emily. And Emily and I are both writers, and we're both actors, and we're both directors. So it was working with Emily was so easy. And we have very similar senses of humor. And now she's my office mate. And so we get along really, really well. We have a stuffed unicorn in my office, and we take turns hiding him around the office. And
From 1 to 5.
yeah, it's kind of like an elf on the shelf, but with a unicorn. And so he's always doing different things. Like he's had a sword, like a foam sword. And when I left to come here, I had him under like a little beach umbrella. He was getting some sun. So anyway, so it was great. She's great to work with, and this is very easy and laid back sessions. And Inani Mana, she has such a long name. Inani Mana was fun too, and she got to be squished. It's always fun to be squished. It's a lot of fun. Get squished.
All right, now you're working on scripts. What aspects do you try to work on first, or is it more of an open-ended style? Like, do you more like? So I know you guys get the rough translation directly from the translation department, and then you're told.
It comes from Crunchyroll.
Well, I mean, just in general, like it comes from that animation department, no matter which company, either through Funimation or Crunchyroll, whoever, and then you're told, take this, make it sound like it's supposed to sound, and then go from that. But do you do like, I'm gonna hit mostly the main actor first, like the main character, or do you kind of do?
Like I start at minute 0 and I go down the script cue by cue and write it that way, unless I get stuck, and then I'll sometimes go to like the last half of the show, and like because I have to have like a clean breaking point. Otherwise I'll lose where I'm at, and I don't want to mess it up. But depending on the director is whether or not we'll stick really close to the translation. Anytime I work with Caitlin Glass, she prefers I stick pretty close to the translation. We try to keep it with her shows. She's always going for a very timeless feel, kind of like Fruits Basket. So we don't use a lot of slang or hardly any slang at all. And so that's Caitlin, and I know how Caitlin likes it, and I think we work pretty well together. I've certainly written a lot of shows for her. But then with like Kyle Phillips, he's like, cool. He's like, I don't mind if you go off track a little bit and use a little slang, as long as it's funny. Because I've mostly done comedy for him. And DXD, you just get rid of the translation altogether, and you just make it up as you go. So it's just different on each show, and whether or not you're going to stick really close to that trans or not depends on the director and things like that. But I know if there's manga available or a light novel, I will often look at that so that we with Interview with Monster Girls, I had the manga, which was great because there were times I was really confused by all the science. I was like, wormholes, what? I'm an artist, not a scientist.
Should have had me on the team.
Yeah, it's not my forte. So yeah, it depends on the show and what's available and how much information we can get on it. But I try to make it accurate if I can. So.
I just go free form with you guys. That's what I do. So, are there any upcoming projects you want fans to know about at this time that you are allowed to talk about? We know about the pesky NDA. So, Is there anything you want fans to know about that's available right now?
I feel like you guys already know everything. Well, Gamers is coming out on DVD.
Okay, I need to get that.
You do. Totally need to get that. Gamers is coming out on DVD in July, I think. It's either July or August. I'll have to look at it again. That was the first show I directed, so I highly recommend it. It's got a great cast and crew.
It does.
And then this season, if you're watching anything, I'm writing Card Captor Sakura Clear Card and High School DxD.
You watch his Clear Card.
Yay! I hope I'm doing you proud.
You watched the original when it came out.
I'm actually a fan of the original one, so I was really glad that they put me on the project because I was like, I have all the manga, and I'll leave notes in it. I'm like, this happened in the manga back in 1998. Yeah, I talked to Caitlin about it a lot, and I'm like, here's my fan theory about Kaito. This is what I think. So I was like, did you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm like reading all the fan theories online. I'm like, Wikipedia says. So there are, and I try to keep them in mind because, we get it one episode at a time. So I'm like, I hope we don't write something that's going to mess me up later. So that's why we stick to the trans. But yeah, so those are the things I'm writing. DxD is DxD. And if you like a lot of plot, that's a good show for you. There's a lot of plot in that show. It's just busting at the seams.
I love your puns. Alrighty. So is there any way for fans to keep up with you online? And a final message for all your wonderful fans. I know you and I have had wonderful correspondence via Twitter.
Twitter is the best way to get in touch with me. It's just at Chris Comics, KRISCOMICS. There's a unicorn in there. That's how you know it's me.
Unless it's Terry. Terry has a unicorn now too.
What? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll have to add some sparkles or something. But yeah, Twitter's the best way. I have a Facebook page too, like a public one, but I'm not on that one as much because Twitter's just easier to get to. And then I have an Instagram, but it's private because it's just a bunch of pictures of my kids and my cat.
Which is A-okay to have private stuff.
People send me requests all the time, and I'm like, no, sorry. Yeah. So if you're watching, don't send me an Instagram request because I will deny it. Yep. But Twitter's probably the best. So.
And what message would you like to give to the fans that have been able to help support you and give you love and support all this time as your career has risen from being in the background with Sunny to now being a director, writer, actor, artist?
Oh, no. I don't know. I guess thanks for sticking with me. I feel like I'm a pretty awkward person most of the time. Delightfully awkward is what I like to use. So, just thanks for sticking with me. There are definitely a couple of fans that have been there since the very beginning. Josh Hatzies is a fan that's been around since I was just a comic book artist. Timothy Nolan and Benjamin Oscar. Ben, everybody knows Ben. I always say, I'm like, for all the trolls on Twitter, the people that are there every week, positively, interacting with you and supporting you and celebrating your victories with you, those people make Twitter worth it. Yeah. So just thank you to them, and hope you guys keep supporting us, and thanks for following us on Twitter when there's better things you could probably be doing than watching me post about unicorns.
It's all right. I had so much fun talking to you. Thank you again.
Thank you guys.